Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining. My name is Laura Parent. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Research Development at the CTSC of Northern Ohio. I'm taking a quick second of your time to say good afternoon, and also it is Translational Science Week with the CTSC of Northern Ohio. So we are celebrating all week long. It's our 18th birthday, and so every day this week we've got something new and exciting for you. And so, as a part of our Media Monday today, if you head to our website, we've got a new video release of our Stories of Impact. So, this is a showcase series that we are doing with a handful of our investigators to, as a commitment to showcase translational science and what that looks like long term. So, one of our former K scholars, Dr. Michael Fu. He's in the School of Engineering. He is showcased in our first episode. So if you go to our website, that'll be the first thing that you see when it pops up. And of course, while you're there, check out the rest of our Translational Science Week events. And for any of you who are at CASE specifically on Wednesday, we will have an in-person event on Wednesday with ice cream and giveaways and lots more exciting announcements. So please check that out. And then additionally, on Friday, we will have one more funding announcement. So it's a theme pilot. RFA will be released on Friday. And you will want to, of course, be in the know for that. So thank you so much for taking your time to be here today. And I'm going to hand it over to Anna to kick things off. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. It's going to be an exciting week. So welcome everyone. This is the annual pilot program technical webinar for the 2026 pilot award. Myself and Dr. Gherkin and Dr. Nealon will be presenting this hour. And so we're going to share information about the CTSC of Northern Ohio, about translational research, and then move into details regarding the annual pilot program. And there will be time for questions at the end. Of course, you can always put anything in the chat or unmute and ask us questions at any time during the presentation as well. Okay, so this is us. So I'm, of course, Anna Thornton Matos, the administrative lead for the research pilot programs here at the CTSC. We offer 5 funding mechanisms. So you'll always want to be on our newsletter and getting our emails to be kept aware of all the different funding mechanisms and when they become available. Today, we're focusing on the annual pilot program. So I'm going to introduce the 2 pilot program co-faculty leads, Dr. Umit Gherkin and Dr. Nealon. So Dr. Gherkin is the Wilbert J. Austin Professor of Engineering with tenure at Case Western Reserve University, and he holds a BS in Chemical Engineering and Mechanical Engineering and a PhD in Biomedical Engineering from Purdue. He completed his postdoctoral training at Harvard Medical School and Harvard MIT program in Health Sciences and Technology. Dr. Gherkin's research is about global equitable access to diagnostics and personalized health, and he is a leader in efficiently translating microfluidics and point-of-care diagnostics for blood disorders, antimicrobial resistance, and cancer. He has led international clinical studies on sickle cell disease research in the United States, Africa, Southeast Asia, and India. Dr. Gherkin's inventions have led to over 15 US patents and 4 successful biotechnology companies to date with products in global markets. Dr. Gherkin's innovations have won numerous awards, including the US PTO Patents for Humanity Recognition and the US FDA Breakthrough Device Designation. So he is on faculty here at Case Western Reserve University. And Dr. Nealon, who's also our other co-lead, is the director of UH Center for Cardiovascular Prevention, the director of the Translational Science Unit, and the co-director of the Center for Integrated and Novel Approaches in Vascular Metabolic Disease. He's a senior attending for UH Harrington Heart and Vascular Institute and associate professor of medicine at Case Western Reserve University, where he holds the inaugural Kamen, Family Chair in Cardiovascular Excellence in Cleveland, Ohio. He's a general and preventative cardiologist and clinical and translational investigator with expertise in obesity, diabetes, and the prevention of cardiovascular disease. So that's us. We're going to move now into defining what the CTSC of Northern Ohio is, just to give everyone here some background. And I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Nealon.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's great to be here with everyone today, and it's really amazing to see so many people on the call, so many people interested in our pilot program, and really getting involved with CTSC. It can be a game changer, it can be really transformative for research and for building your career. So first, I just want to give you a little bit of a background and an overview of what the CTSC is. Our Clinical and Translational Science Collaborative is one of many among the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, which is funded by the National Institutes of Health. It's a network of over 60 medical research institutions working together to improve the process of translational research. We have several program goals, which are listed here, and these include to advance clinical and translational science, to provide a national resource for the rapid response to urgent public health needs. We want to promote partnerships and collaborations to facilitate and accelerate translational research, both locally, regionally, and nationally. And that's a key one that I'll speak about in a moment, about our collaborative practice between various institutions here in Northeast Ohio. We want to create the environment and provide the infrastructure to both perform and disseminate the clinical and translational science across disciplines. And we want to, work together with partner institutions across communities, both in the academic setting and the community setting, to do excellent research and translate that research to people and populations where needed. We are also very indebted to supporting career development and career programs and training. And this pilot program is one of those career development type awards, where it can really be a stepping stone to a larger grant independent funding and really jumpstart your research program. And finally, we want to create and implement scientific and operational innovations that increase the efficiency, effectiveness, safety, and quality of our research, and foster the development of emerging fields. So we also try to be innovative. And for example, with our upcoming themed pilot, we try to think of a theme that's different, novel, innovative, and will change an area of research. So that's what we do. Next slide, please. So our mission here at the CTSC of Northern Ohio is to be a catalyst for high-quality clinical and translational science and transformative research to positively impact the health of those in Northern Ohio and beyond. The way we accomplish that mission is to really form deep and meaningful community engagement and collaboration efforts. We want to disseminate and implement findings from novel and responsive research programs, such as the ones you guys want to perform. We really are focused on understanding health challenges to overcoming barriers to recruitment into clinical research, which, as previously an early stage investigator, that was something that was on top of mind, and I'm sure is on top of mind for everyone here, to really how to make your research better, more efficient, and effective. And then finally, to develop and train the next generation of researchers at all levels. And I think there are people here today at all various levels of their academic careers. So it's again, great to have you. Next slide, please. So a little bit about us. The CTSC is a collaborative. And so we have a lead institution, that's Case Western Reserve University. And our partner institutions include University Hospitals, Metro Health, Cleveland Clinic, the VA, the University of Toledo, and Northeast Ohio Medical University, or NeoMed. Their first CTSA award started in September of 2007. So, it's quite a while ago, and have been successful in each cycle since. The current cycle, which started in 2023, was a $56.3 million grant over 7 years. And again, that grant supports many different pilot programs, research endeavors, across the research spectrum. And these include K-12 career development grants, our pre-doc and post-doc T32 grants, undergraduate research, R25 via R25 mechanism, as well as innovative programs and ways to unblock roadblocks in clinical and translational science through an RC2 program. So beyond just the pilot program that we'll talk about today, there are a host of resources that you can find online. And it's actually a very simple and straightforward way to access those resources. We have consultative sessions. We can help you from A to Z for research. And I think the first step is just getting involved in CTSC, knowing who we are, what we do. This is a perfect opportunity to do that today. And it can be a great resource for you in terms of connecting you to the various individuals who work in the CTSC and work together. So again, welcome. And I'm going to turn it over to Umut to talk about the pilot program.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm, in terms of translation science and translation research, today I'm focusing on the core concepts of translational science and research as they relate to our CTSC annual pilot program. Let's start with the fundamentals first, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. Translational science is all about understanding the overarching principles that guide how we turn basic discoveries into real-world health improvements. It is disease agnostic, meaning it applies broadly, not just to one condition. On the other hand, translation research zooms in on specific steps in that process for particular diseases or targets. These distinctions are crucial for the types of projects we will be considering for funding through the pilot program, as they help us bridge lab work to patient care and beyond. So I will start with the stages of translation. Please stay in this slide, Anna. Here on this slide, we break down the key definitions. Translation itself is the process of converting observations from the lab, clinic, or community into interventions that benefit public health, like new diagnostics, treatments, or behavioral changes. Translation research is the effort to navigate a specific step in that journey for a targeted disease. But translational science, as I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit broader than that. That's the investigative field focused on the scientific and operational principles behind each step in a disease agnostic way. A good distinction between a translational research and a translational science project is translational science projects are disease agnostic. Think of it as improving the roadmap for all translations. For example, it might involve optimizing clinical trial designs to make them more efficient across various health issues. This framework is also essential for our pilot applications, as we are looking for projects that advance these principles. So translation science projects are welcome, and we will carefully consider them in this cycle. To make these concepts a little bit more concrete, we would like to share with you an example translational research and translation science process as part of the COVID-19 pandemic. So in this slide, let's look at this timeline. This timeline from 2020 illustrates translation research in action as part of the COVID crisis. Starting March 11th with the WHO declaring a pandemic, we see rapid advancements. By March 17th, for example, the University of Minnesota begins testing hydroxychloroquine. Then on April 29th, the NIH trial showed early promise for remdesivir, leading to its emergency use authorization on May 1st. Saliva-based diagnostics get approved for at-home use by May 9th. And by December, FDA panels recommend the Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna vaccines. The pink bar highlights translation research happening during this process: diagnostic developments, vaccine creation from animal to human trials. This is a classical translation research process that are focused on targeted efforts to traverse specific steps for COVID-19, turning lab insights into therapeutics and vaccines and diagnostics at unprecedented speed. It's a testament to how focused research can respond to urgent needs. But the story doesn't end there. Translation science addresses the broader challenges. In the next slide, please. Shifting focus here, this version of the timeline emphasizes the translational science during the same period. While research was progressing, we faced massive public health hurdles. US deaths passed 100,000 by May 28. Cases hit 2 million by June 10th, and the COVID became the third leading cause of death by August 17th. By November 4th, we saw 100,000 cases in a single day. Translation science here is about understanding and improving the processes around these milestones, things like enhancing public health responses, optimizing resource allocation, fostering collaborations to handle surges. It's not just about the vaccine or the drug, it's about the systems that ensure they reach people effectively. And yet, barriers persisted, which translation science aims to dissolve. Next slide. Building on that, this slide highlights equity and access issues intertwined with the research. On April 28, reports show that young and poor individuals avoiding care for COVID-19 symptoms due to cost concerns. By July 14th, states with spikes reported major health insurance losses. August 4th revealed rural hotspots lacking ICU beds. All while translation research on diagnostics and vaccines continued in the background. This underscores how translation science and research work together. Research develops the tools, but the science ensures they are implemented fairly, addressing social determinants, improving recruitment into trials, and making sure innovations don't exacerbate these disparities. And in our pilot program, we are encouraging projects that tackle these very intersections. Now, let's imagine if we could have done better. Next slide. This slide challenges us to think bigger. How could translation research have accelerated understanding of coronavirus pathogenesis more quickly, or developed more detection methods for SARS-CoV-2 RNA? What about broader serological testing for staff, students, and communities, or boosting patient recruitment into trials? On the science side, how might we have achieved 100% vaccine adoption, ensured access to treatments, build trust in healthcare, or better understand policy's role in reducing social risks? It could guide implementation in healthcare, government, and communities for future crises. Drawing from the cited article here, this is about dissolving boundaries in research. For our RFA, we are seeking proposals that embody this forward-thinking approach to make processes more efficient and impactful. This ties directly into the translation spectrum we are prioritizing. By the way, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Darcy Friedman and these slides that you have seen about the COVID-19 were provided to us by her, and we have been using them to illustrate the translation research and translation science concepts. Next slide, please. Now, we will focus on the translation spectrum and what we are interested in as part of this particular RFA. So here you can see the translation spectrum from all the way from T0 basic science to T4 population health. Our RFA scope focuses on T2 through T4, implications for practice, translation to practice, and to populations. This includes dissemination and implementation research, getting evidence into real-world settings. At this stage, as part of this particular RFA, we are not able to fund pure basic or preclinical work. Instead, we want projects that bridge to patients, practices, communities, emphasizing scalability and generalizability. Now, I would like to break this down with some examples in the next slide. Yes, here are some examples. To guide your applications, T2 research might include, for example, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials, developing guidelines, or comparative effectiveness studies. T3 could involve community-based participatory research, phase 4 trials or dissemination implementation work. T4 focuses on population outcomes like monitoring morbidity, cost-benefit analysis, policy evaluations, or surveillance studies. Note that there is a photo credit for the photos that we are using here. They are not from our clinical studies or the CTSC. So these phases of clinical trial, they align with our goals of addressing health challenges in Northern Ohio, especially rural areas, through multi-institutional collaborations, which is one of the requirements, and I will talk about it next in the upcoming slides. And we are really excited to see how your ideas will fit into this spectrum. So in summary, these concepts of translational science and translation research aren't abstract, so they are actionable, as we have seen in the examples that I provided, and they are foundation to our pilot funding. I would like to thank you for your attention. We will be here for questions now, and I will present the specifics next. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gherkin. Thank you, Dr. Nealon, for the overview and for the lessons about what translational science is and could be. I'm going to move into talking about the specifics for this call. So this is the annual pilot program again. So I'm realizing that it says CTS Research Program, but these are the goals for the annual pilot program. So here, this slide talks about the goals for this program. And as you're reviewing them, just keep in mind that the funding is here to support projects that promote overall health, reduce the burden of chronic disease through innovative technology. We, like Umit said, we want to see PIs from multiple institutions. In fact, it's a requirement that it be from at least 2 CTSC institutions. We want to see development of new collaboration pathways between institutions that lead to long-term relationships. And the relationships are not limited to academic and clinical partners, but a community partner can also be a collaborator as the third partner. And we highly value that. And we also want to make sure that the focus stays on improving the health access and outcomes of all who live in Northern Ohio. So considering for this application, the 12-month time frame, so is your project doable in that 12-month time frame? You know, your application should include the questions that you propose to answer, any new approaches you'll be developing, the methods you'll use for the implementation, how your research will be useful, how you'll disseminate your findings with this funding of $50,000. We're looking for projects that are ready to go, shovel ready, we call it, that can hit the ground running July 1, 2026. And can be accomplished in that 12-month time frame ending June 30th of 2027. So additional considerations. So if you're not completely familiar with translational science or translational research, we encourage you to view the appendices in the RFA and the full RFA, and you can navigate to our website in order to be able to find all the details that you need regarding this RFA and any other requirements, as well as this additional information about what is translational science, what is translational research. As with all of our funding mechanisms, you have to have at least 2 CTSC partners, like I said before. So that is, you know, UH and CASE, or the clinic and Metro. And Neomed and UT can be co-investigators, but not principal investigators. In addition, like I said before, community partners can also be co-investigators, but we would be considered a third partner. So to be eligible to apply, you need to be a PI at CASE, faculty at CASE, and if you are a physician at a medical center, then you must also have a faculty appointment at CASE. So PIs from multiple partners are encouraged to apply. You must be eligible for NIH funding. So if you're curious if you would be eligible for NIH funding, you can navigate to their website. There's a link here in this slide. But it looks like it can probably be Googled and figured out fairly easily if you can't click on that link. And as mentioned before, the faculty from Toledo and Neomed and community health organizational leaders can be co-investigators. Okay, so here we have, this is our priority areas, right? So for this mechanism, we have 10 priority areas. So keep in mind that reviewers are looking for projects that incorporate one or more of these aspects into their applications. So make sure to review these in detail, you know, if in the RFA. If your project has some of these areas, great. You probably are already incorporating a couple of these into your project. And if they don't, then you might be able to add some things onto your project that you can incorporate. So some of these wouldn't be hard to integrate, such as dissemination and implementation, creating a plan for disseminating your research. So we've already mentioned the translational science aspect and the dissemination implementation. So we also are looking at projects that develop and use innovative techniques in clinical studies with community and clinical partners. And we're also looking at projects that leverage the Cosmos or the Trinetics informatics tools. And the CTSC, if you're curious about any of that, the CTSC has resources around those things. So if you have any questions about that, reach out to us, and we can direct you in the right to the right people to answer those questions. Continuing with priority areas, so we're also looking at health issues related to rural Ohio. So our CTSC covers a wide swath of Ohio of people in Ohio. So kind of anyone sort of north of Midline, Ohio, is considered to be part of our catchment area. So if you have a project that is interested in looking at rural issues in rural Ohio, that is applicable. So innovative implementation methods, promoting findings, and interventions at community or clinical practices that promote overall health, and then studies that focus on improving research processes. And lastly, it's not on the slides, but it'll be in the RFA, projects that are focusing on any of sort of these current topics, and we have them listed here. It's not an exhaustive list, so if there's an issue you feel like is a current issue in translational science that what you would like to study, then definitely make a case for that. But the list that we have here in the RFA is gene editing, the microbiome, deep learning, robotics in healthcare, drug discovery, advances in medical imaging, and improving the reproducibility and reliability of scientific findings. So kind of taking a meta approach. Okay, so those are the goals and the priority areas. Next, I'm going to go into the letter of intent. So this is due October 20th, which is about a month away. And this is a one-page document that you will upload into the InfoReady platform. So this letter will describe your approach, your translational research or translational science approach. It'll have quantitative and qualitative outcomes in it. We want to see in this letter how your project will ultimately lead to a change in overall health outcomes. And we will notify those who move from the LOI stage to the next stage about mid-December. So we're saying mid-December, so it'll be on or about December 15th. I'm going to give more details about that right now. So the LOI is a brief summary. It must be one page, so that's important to follow that directive. One page, and it should have the following items included in the one page. And so we've been through this process a couple of times, so we know it can be done. I know it's challenging to fit it all into one page, but it is possible. So all of these items need to be listed on the one page. So the title, all the folks involved in the project, where they come from, and then the summary, which will include your hypothesis, your innovation, how feasible is your project? Remember, I was talking about the 12-month time frame. Are you shovel ready? Tell us how. Tell us how and why you're shovel ready. Why you're ready to go right at June. Right at July 1. What are your milestones? Where do you fall in the translational research spectrum? A couple lines about your budget. This should be like, we're doing X amount of dollars for effort, X amount of dollars will go to our consultant, X amount of dollars go to our community partners. Just sort of a ballpark numbers to kind of give us an idea about how you're going to use the funding. What's going on with your human subjects in your IRB? Where are you in the process? Have you submitted? Would this project be an amendment to an already existing IRB? Let us know. IP considerations. So do you need any assistance around intellectual property? Will you be going for a patent? Does this already have a patent? Are you building on some previous work? Let us know about the IP. And then special considerations. So these would be things like, is there a foreign component? Are there subawards as part of your research and your budget? Okay. So next, important dates. So this is all, again, on our website and in the RFA, but we'll just go through it here. 20th is when the LOIs are due. You'll submit those via InfoReady, which we'll talk about in just a second. Mid-December, we'll let folks know who proceeds to that next round. January 19th will be the application for the full proposal. So you'll have a little over a month, but the holidays are in there as well. So we pushed it to the sort of the 3/4 of the way through January. We will announce the final awards by April 3rd. By the end of May, if you have an IRB, it has to be in place. It has to be in place in order to be able to start successfully on July 1. And then everything needs to be wrapped up by June 30th of 2027. Okay, so as with all of our funding mechanisms, this is a two-step process. So most of you kind of understand this, but if you're new to this, I just want to iterate and reiterate that's a two-step process. So you go to SPARC first, and you create a project ID. You need to register your project within SPARC, and it will generate a project ID for you. We use SPARC as our first step because that is our tracking mechanism for the CTSC. That's how we know what projects are requesting CTSC services, using CTS services, what projects are coming through our organization. And the step 2 is InfoReady. I'll go into a little bit more detail. So step 1, like I said, you go to SPARC, sign up, and you create an account. Under funding opportunities, you'll select annual pilot program. You'll enter some information about your project, and this will generate a project ID for you. Of course, if you have any questions about this, reach out to me. I know all about it. Now, you can also reach out to the SPARC folks at that SPARC help email as well. So that's step 1. Step 2 is InfoReady. So this is our grants management system. This is where all of our call for applications exist. You navigate there. If you don't already have an account, create an account. Look for the 2026 Annual Pilot Program Letter of Intent. And that is where you will enter your information about your application, and a one-page LOI will be uploaded there as well. So I know if it feels like it's a lot of information, don't worry, reach out if you have any questions. Okay, so what's next? Letter of intent due October 20th. You can schedule a consultation with us. If you would like, we would recommend scheduling a consultation with us just to make sure that your scientific focus is in the right place for this mechanism, and we can answer any questions about what's approved for the budget, what is, about timelines, and anything that you have a question about, we can answer through that consultation. And you can do the consultation through SPARC. And then here again is our critical dates, just to be aware of. So that is the nuts and bolts. We will go now to a question and answer session. I do have a couple frequently asked questions here that I have answered. So if your question is answered with some of these, then great, you won't have to speak up or put something in the chat. But if not, we can open up the chat now for questions.
question in the chat, but I can just say it out loud. For the letter of intent, you said listing all the PIs, co-PIs, et cetera. If you're working like with a department or a center writ large for patient recruitment, do you have to list every person in that department, or can you just list the department or center?
I don't think you need to list every person. That would take up way too much real estate on
Right.
your
Yeah.
page. Yeah, no, just, you can list the center, those details will come later. Those details will come later. So it's just a sort of high level, let us know who's involved.
As like that second partner, that center writ large, rather than having to say like this specific person will be in charge of everybody else in the center, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you could say like the center and then whoever maybe the person that is your contact there. And if that's your second partner, so you want to make sure you let us know who that is. Is that a UH? Is that Metro? Is that Cleveland Clinic? So we know that we have the two partners there.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I would like to just add something to that. Yes, I think it would be good to have at least one person who will be responsible for that center's activities. And especially you mentioned patient enrollment or recruitment, and I'm assuming that there will be an IRB. If that IRB, PI of that IRB is you, that's good. If the PI of that IRB is someone else at the UH, at that center, then that should be clarified and it would help. As Anna mentioned, IRB approval is extremely important, which is required by the NIH. Before the project starts, IRB approval has to be in place. I would like to emphasize that. So if you have IRB plans already in place, approved, pending, and if there is a certain lead identified for that IRB activities, then that should be clarified in the letter of intent as well as in the full proposal.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
In the CTSC priority areas, I know, for example, you say like dissemination and implementation of research. That does mean that with this $1,000, we need to address that, or is something that we are addressing in the future?
If that's one of the areas that you want as your focus of your project, then the money needs to go towards that.
Yes, and let me add to that. As you're aware, 50K is a pretty limited amount. You cannot achieve the full dissemination or implementation with that amount, of course. But it is important to focus on one particular hurdle or one particular milestone or maybe two that will help you disseminate in the future. You can focus on a particular dissemination plan that is achievable with that 50K of funding. By the way, 50K is in direct expenses, or you can focus on one particular step in the process. So as I try to explain in my examples, translation research is a long process. Translation science is studies that focus on improving that process. You cannot possibly address all the steps in a translation research pathway with this 50K award, but it should be some particular task in that process. And the more clear it is, the better it will be for the review panel. If you have an idea about your overall dissemination plan, and if you are tackling a certain task as part of that overall big picture plan, then that will be very helpful to emphasize in the application.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure. Any other questions, comments? I would like to also emphasize the importance of consultation sessions. In the previous years, we have experience providing consultation to interested teams, PIs, before the letter of intent stage, as well as in the full proposal preparation stage. And I can say that almost all the people who have received consultation ended up being invited, and then most of them, if not all of them, ended up receiving a positive outcome in their full application. So consultation sessions are meant to help you prepare a strong application that will survive the review process. In the invitation stage, we can provide scientific advice, we can provide translation research, translation science advice. We can help and make sure that your application letter of intent at stage at this for now satisfies all the requirements. There are no red flags that will lead to immediate rejection by the reviewer or by the administrative team. So that half an hour consultation session might save you hours in preparing your letter of intent, and almost guarantee application, guarantee invitation for full application. Of course, it will go through a review process, but our earlier experience shows that consultation sessions lead to really successful outcomes in the letter of intent and even in the full proposal stage. And CTSC's, one of the main functions of CTSC, as mentioned earlier, is to provide advice, mentorship, support, help in this process. So the consultation sessions are meant to help you better understand the translation research process, translation science, and resources available at CTSC. We might recommend you to establish new collaborations or new connections, or utilize certain CTSC resources to strengthen your project. Yeah, so I highly recommend it.
And I don't know if we mentioned earlier that we're awarding up to 8, up to $50,000. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, you guys, we're available, myself, Dr. Gherkin, Dr. Nealon. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. This webinar will be recorded and it will be available on our annual pilot program website for the CTSC. So you can share the website with folks that weren't able to make it. Yeah, just reach out if you have any other questions. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And we hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.